Okay, this story has gotten pretty bizarre. Stick around and I'll tell you more. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to share with you a little bit more insight into this Better.com layoff that's been making its round on the internet. Now, the reason why I decided to make this video is I saw some articles going around on LinkedIn about layoffs that were announced by Better.com and then previously Zillow. And it kind of got me thinking it's a little strange because in this market today, this current labor market, things are just really cooking, and any sign of layoffs has just kind of not been seen in the last 15 to 18 months. And so that alone, given the nature of my channel, that perked my attention. Then I found out that the CEO had laid people off on the Zoom call, and I went and watched the video, and it was just cringe-worthy. So that was the original point of this video. And as I started to dig into why they're having the layoff to begin with, that's where this whole Pandora's box of craziness has just kind of popped up. So I wanted to cover these things first before we actually go into the layoff video itself, because it paints a freaking bizarre picture of this CEO and puts everything into context. But before we get too far into it, if you're interested in more videos just like this one directly from a corporate recruiter, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you don't want to miss any future posts. It really does help the channel. Or alternatively, find a small YouTuber that you admire and you can see that they're really putting effort into their channel, because that sub really truly means a lot to them and will help them get started. All right, so let's talk about Vishal Garg, who is the CEO and founder of Better.com. So Vishal happens to be a billionaire, and he's got a laundry list of issues that have followed him. Surprise, surprise. So I was doing a little bit of Google searching on this guy's name, and just do it yourself and you'll see what I'm talking about. But a whole bunch of articles popped up, and this one from the Daily Beast I wanted to walk through just to see what kind of guy this person truly was. And of course, this article, apparently he threatened to burn a business partner alive, and now he's a billionaire. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say a billionaire who threatens to burn his business partners is probably not going to make a great leader. So apparently there's been some rumblings about the financial mismanagement of the company, specifically with how he was handling executive comp for a few employees. One person in particular, an executive by the name of Elana Knoller, who was given stock options that were potentially worth tens of millions of dollars. Now, unlike normal employee packages, this one vested immediately. It seems like the board of directors was potentially unclear or was not given the full story as well. Talk about a sweet compensation deal. She also received at least $8,000 per month for 2 homes, including one in Puerto Rico, and a whole bunch of other perks. If you're an executive not named Elana Knoller at the firm, you didn't enjoy such a sweet deal yourself. So it's pretty easy to look around and say, what the heck is going on with this particular person? He actually gets even better than that. He continued to pay her ridiculous sums of money and actually had to go back and get board approval for another $1.2 million in options, which would easily be worth 8 figures. It's like, good gig if you can get it, right? So it gets even better. Just 4 months later, in June, Knoller left the company after she was placed on administrative leave for allegedly bullying and other workplace grievances. And apparently these grievances had been swirling and going around for a couple of years, but essentially there was a hostile work environment with this person working there. And the financial issue was so scrutinized that some of their key investors actually pulled out or sold their stakes, including Pinebrook Capital, who is actually threatening to sue the company and Garg, according to a recent company filing, claiming there's been fiduciary breaches in connection with corporates or the Better's corporate governance. So apparently they're already suing over some other stuff too. This is keep in mind, this is one of their key investors. Another prominent backer, Goldman Sachs, recently sold much of its stake, and the firm didn't decide to tell anybody why. In addition to that, this winter, Morgan Stanley informed the company that due to lawsuits that it would no longer work with Better on a possible IPO. So all these big name investors are pulling out of Better.com in response to the corporate governance issues that they're experiencing. And it all seems to tie back to the CEO. Now let's go back to Elana for a second, because there's a lot to unpack here. Apparently she was a hot commodity coming off the commodities desk at Goldman Sachs, and she joined Better in 2017 at the young age of 29. And she was actually listed as a Forbes 30 under 30. So by all accounts, she was an up-and-comer in the financial services industry. However, she did not have any product management experience, yet she gets promoted into a executive level product management role. In fact, according to this article in Forbes, she didn't know the job well enough that she actually did a crash course on product management as she was starting this job. Yet she's a senior executive getting paid millions of dollars and getting preferential treatment from this CEO. But it gets even weirder because evidently Ms. Knoller was creating a hostile work environment. And according to this Forbes article, apparently some of the upheaval began when some employees who were reporting to Knoller questioned why they hadn't received a job satisfaction survey that had gone out to other employees. So she didn't want her own employees rating her back. Some of the commenters said that she was the one that actually made a decision not to give those out to the people in her department. According to this article, the discussion then spiraled into broader allegations of bullying and mismanagement. And for example, Knoller had allegedly placed some individuals on performance improvement plans when they voiced discontent for her leadership. So if you complained about the leadership, you got placed on a PIP. Other employees say that she has presided over a culture of intimidation and retaliation where workers were promoted based on their loyalty to her. And if you didn't demonstrate blind loyalty, you were either pushed to the side or you were removed. She apparently had a reputation of terminating a lot of people. So after all this stuff happens with the executive compensation package, she's actually placed on administrative leave following these allegations of bullying. And then a few months later is out of the company altogether. Now let's go back to CEO Vishal Garg for a second, who has a well-documented grueling management style. Now this is major publications talking about his leadership style. Forbes, for example, had this report. And apparently some of his tactics are berating employees over email for being slow and then likening them to a bunch of dumb dolphins, which he actually responded to internally and tried to say that he made a mistake. Now keep in mind, this is the same guy that has threatened to burn his business partners alive and has major investors jumping ship left and right. And there's also stories about him chewing people out for a variety of little things like the kind of water that they kept in their mini fridges. So some people have actually speculated that his hiring of Elana Knoller was a way for him to continue the intimidation and bullying tactics in his own workforce without directly doing it himself. And so now that you have a little bit of context, it leads us back to this layoff video and why it's so laughable. Now, the best thing in all of this is this layoff came after a $750 million cash infusion for the tech startup that was valued at $7 billion. So the fact that this company's got $1 billion in cash on the balance sheet and he's laying off 10% of his workforce weeks before the holiday just shows you the kind of leader this person is.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I come to you with not great news. The market has changed, as you know, and we have to move with it.
The market hasn't changed. Your management style is awful.
In order to survive, so that hopefully we can continue to thrive and deliver on a mission. This isn't news that you're going to want to hear.
This isn't news that you're going to want to hear from some guy sitting on a screen in some ivory tower that doesn't have the balls to call these people up himself and talk to them face to face.
But ultimately, it was my decision. And
oh, so now he takes ownership of it when he's behind the safety of a video that he can't get comments back or get any real-time feedback from the people he's actually ruining their lives.
And I wanted you to hear from me. It's been a really, really challenging decision to make.
It's a challenging decision to make, just like the compensation packages for your executives, or your favorite executive, I should say.
This is the second time in my career I'm doing this, and I do not want to do this.
Okay, so this is the second time that this guy has done this. So what does that show you, folks? If this guy is leading the company that you are about or considering joining, you better think long and hard about how bad you want that job.
The last time I did it, I cried.
It's like, yeah, sure you did. Sure you did, buddy. Sure you did. Yeah, I'm sure you cried all the way to the bank with your huge bonus that you took last year. An all cash bonus, mind you, your huge cash bonus that you just took.
This time I hope to be stronger. But we are laying off about 15% of the company for a number of reasons. The market, efficiency.
Do you notice?
Performances.
Do you notice that he is not once mentioning his own performance as the CEO? And is he going to lay himself off? Because his performance with this company, and especially how he has approached the shady business dealings and how he's approached his compensation philosophy with certain favorites, would warrant him being cut. The fact that he's even blaming this on performance, market performance, and performance of the company is absolutely laughable, and it is a slap in the face to every single one of those people who currently works there and the people who got laid off.
And productivity.
Productivity.
If you're on this call,
this is amazing. This part's amazing to me.
On this call, you are part of the unlucky group.
You, dude.
That is being laid off.
That's.
Your employment
I have
here
to agree
is
with that.
terminated, effective immediately.
Are you fucking kidding me?
What does this mean for what's next?
So this guy literally sends off a cowardly video to people who he's laying off. He can't approach them face to face and tell them in a way that has respect for those people and respect for their families and respect for the amount of effort that they've put into this particular company, IPO startups, where we know that they're working tons of hours, all those hours of overtime, probably missing time with their families and not being able to take vacation time at the holiday because they're probably working so hard for this guy. And this is how he handles it. And I took a layoff in 2020 as a knee-jerk reaction to the pandemic. As much as I don't agree with why they laid people off as quickly as they did, they at least had the dignity, the common courtesy, I should say, to allow the person to react, to answer questions that they might have, and help them try to process what was happening. This guy sits behind a camera, and as soon as the video is done, he clicks it off and he's off to his next thing. Just on with his day.
You're going to get an email from HR, askhr@better.com, to your personal email address regarding the details of your severance and your benefits. For all U.S. employees, we're providing 4 weeks of severance, 1 month of full benefits, and 2 months of COBRA, for which we will pay the premium. So 3 months total benefits if you elect for COBRA.
So is that benefit, is the severance, the 4 weeks, that doesn't matter if you've been there for the entire time? It doesn't matter. It sounds like everybody just gets the same thing. So I guess if you're somebody that just joined the company and got laid off, then maybe that's an okay deal. But if you're somebody that's been there the entire time and got laid off, doesn't matter what your years of service are, you're just getting the same 4 weeks. That seems really, really shady.
If you don't get a communication from askhr@better.com before the end of the day, you can email askhr@better.com.
So here we have the HR department that does the absolute minimum that they need to do. They basically process all of, now granted, this is coming from this CEO, but this HR department is essentially just processing it. The HR department should be helping facilitate the layoff notifications by calling each one of those employees personally and letting them know and answering any questions that they might have. The fact that they are just sending an email to you is just absolutely laughable.
Thank you for each and every one of your individual contributions to Better.
Yeah. Thank you for each one of your contributions. Here's the door.
I wish the news was different. I wish we were thriving enthusiastically as we were at the beginning of this year. But that's not the case. And I am sure you will leave us and be more successful, more fortunate, and luckier in your next endeavor. I wish you all the best of luck.
Wish you were all luckier that you didn't have a crap CEO who doesn't know how to manage a business and will take everybody down before he takes the blame.
Thank you for everything you've done for Better. Thank you.
So there you have, folks. There is a completely cowardly way to handle a layoff, especially one where you were so instrumental in driving that company to the ground. And this is exactly what I talk about on this channel, of being a low quality employer, doing low quality things with low quality leadership. So you have to start treating yourself like a free agent. And what that means is that you are only working for the company so long as it suits your individual career goals. And if you're somebody that's apathetic about how you've approached your career and you've just laid back and let it come to you, this is potentially going to be your reality. And when the economy dips again, and it will, you need to make sure that you are prepared. And for those of you who are putting in 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks, working through weekends, missing your kids' football and baseball games and dance recitals, and working over holidays and leaving vacation days on the table, it's time to start thinking long and hard about where your true priorities are, because the moments that you're leaving behind, you will never get back. And if you put your trust into a person like this is what you're going to get. I'm sorry I'm getting a little emotional about this, but this is the kind of crap that made me start this channel to begin with. So treat yourself like a free agent, upgrade your situation, use the companies for your own benefit, and when they no longer suit you, you move on to the next one. It's time to take ownership back in your career. If you need more help, that's actually something that I specialize in. I have a website called alifeafterlayoff.com. It's loaded with tips and tricks, all from an insider's perspective. And I also have a couple of training courses that represent my deepest and most intimate knowledge. The first one is called Resume Rocketfuel. It teaches you exactly how to write a resume that's going to give you the best chance of getting noticed by that recruiter. And the purpose of that is to get that first round interview. And once you get that first round interview, it's up to you to sell yourself throughout the rest of the interviewing process. And that's where the ultimate job seeker bootcamp comes in. It's going to walk you through each step of that process, give you tools and techniques to prepare yourself to ace each step of that interview, ultimately land your dream job. I appreciate you sticking around to the end. I know this was a long one, but I did think it was important to point some of these things out. And hopefully you're not working for a garbage company. We'll see you on the next one.